Hi everyone, and thank you for joining this afternoon's Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario information webinar. My name is Anne Dwyer. I'm a program manager here at McMaster University Centre for Continuing Education, and I'm very pleased to host today's session and to welcome Sean Mullen, student recruiter with Professional Accountants Ontario. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin today's presentation. There will be a question and answer period following the presentation. If you would like to ask a question, please feel free to jot it down in the chat box area and hit send. And we will go through all of the questions at the end of today's presentation. And should you wish to stay in touch with the CPA, I encourage you for many reasons, not the least of which is wonderful networking opportunities. Please register directly with the CPA by following the link at www.cpaontario.ca/PSI events. And when you're at that site, you will be asked to enter the code uni-GW-180-312-01. Without further delay, we're going to get started with today's focus, the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario and Sean Mullen. Sean?
Thank you, Anne. So I'm delighted to be here today. My role as the student recruiter for CPA and McMaster Continuing Education is twofold. One is to really promote the profession and help students and those in the workforce to really make some connections around what are some of the career opportunities available with the CPA designation. What are some of the other merits? What is it like to be a CPA member? What kind of supports can you expect? What is really the return on your investment for going through this education process? And as well, one of the things I like to do is really kind of help break down those preconceived notions of what accountants are doing in the finance world. So I'm going to showcase some CPAs to you as well. We'll talk about the specific academic requirements that are necessary to achieve your designation and how you'll do that through concurrent continuing education with Anne's team, and so she'll put at the end. So one quick note about the link that you see there in front of you. CPA does have a lot to offer you. Pardon me. In terms of networking opportunities and helping you to, get connected to the profession, get an idea and sense of, which area of specialization you want to look for, within the profession and the accounting designation. All of this happens, with networking practice. And as any good professional will tell you, there really is no way around networking. It's an inevitability. So you might as well start practicing now, getting some of that exposure, and we'll let you know when we're around. The other thing I do here with CPA is have academic advisement. So if you ever do want to book an appointment with me, I'm very happy to meet with you by phone. I'm in around the Hamilton area once every couple of weeks or so. So my contact information will be available at the end of the presentation for you to reach out to me anytime. So let's get started here. So the CPA designation. So I've been a CPA for about a year now. I come from an education background and have transitioned into the world rather recently. And, like most people, particularly students earlier on in their career, they have this sort of sense of what accountants are and do. And the best way I would describe my learning journey was that I kind of thought accountants were people that sat at the back of the bus, worked on spreadsheets in their little cubicle, sent that information off to somebody else that was making the decision. And what I've really discovered in this role, and having met hundreds of CPAs, in high levels of business, is that CPAs are not the people at the back of the bus. They are at the front of the bus driving that forward. And the best way I can describe that is, people often ask me, Sean, are you a CPA? I'm not a CPA. I'm a very happy recruiter who's got a great job that matches his skill set. But the point is, my manager's not a CPA. My director's not a CPA. My VP is a CPA. So where you find CPAs in the business world, and all you need to do is go on to LinkedIn and type in CPA and see what you find, you're going to find that CPAs are at the high level of leadership in businesses. For that is that they are trusted financial experts. They are trusted financial experts, and there's not a single organization that you can think of, be it a bank, be it a corporation or a firm or a not-for-profit, government, food service, entertainment, whoever makes fidget spinners, it doesn't matter. They need people that understand the language and speak the language of business. And that language is numbers. That is numbers and finance. And so that's why CPAs are so in demand. But much more than that, and what I'll go over on the presentation, part of your training comes with building this professional skill set that allows you to be an influencer. So it's about the technical understanding of finance and accounting, but much more than that, CPAs possess leadership skills, presentation skills, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking that make them instrumental. It allows them to stand up in that boardroom with their understanding of business and business language, saying, look, this is the direction we need to go. And I'm going to explain that a bit more as we go forward. So, we are the largest professional accounting designation in Canada. We boast over 200,000 members. That's actually more than all the doctors and lawyers combined. And what's really interesting here is the statistic that 75% of all chief financial officers in Canada are CPAs. Now, I often come across students, particularly in the undergrad, who are debating, do I have a career in finance or go into accounting? I'm really not sure which area. There is an unbelievable amount of overlap. So CPA isn't just about tax, isn't just about assurance, it's very much about financial reporting, financial needs and systems, and government and strategy. So, that number we expect to grow. And if you think about it, what does a CFO have to do? A CFO has to first and foremost understand the financials of their company inside and out. But more than that, they have to be able to lead, they have to be able to strategize, they have to be able to problem solve, they have to be able to take that understanding of those numbers, put those plan strategies into place, and stand in their boardroom and say, look, this is what's happening in our industry, this is what's happening in our market, I've interpreted these numbers, we need to move in this direction. And that's why we see so many CPAs at high levels of leadership. And just to further illustrate the point here, the Ontario CPAs are, over 500 CPAs are in leadership. Those are top C-suite positions in the top 50 companies in Canada. Now, another part of this slide is, to let you know that the CPA is a designation, it's a membership. So it's the start of a very important career journey with you. The members are so keen to give back to the profession, to volunteer, to mentor, to network, to develop you professionally. So part of your journey as a member of Ontario, and we are the largest province, so you'll be part of the largest membership body, so the more advantage to you, is you get to take advantage of this incredible network of CPAs. There's professional development that you get to do every year. There is literally a hotline that you can call as a CPA for your company. If you run into some block or you run into some sort of issue, you can pick up the phone and call fellow CPA members and say, look, I need some support on this. Can you help me out? So really an incredible network of support and membership that you get to access as part of the largest province. Now, this is something that really speaks to my heart. If any of you have thought or considered about working or traveling abroad, as I mentioned, I come from an education background. I got my teaching designation back in 2008 because I knew there were no jobs here at the time, but I wanted to travel. And so I spent a number of years living in China and Korea, working, exploring, having this incredibly transformative experience. And I'm sure any of you who know anybody who've done this type of experience, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone that's gone to another country and who's not coming back and saying, wow, that was the best decision I've made in my life. Now, the thing is, you can travel to whatever country you want to, but you can't live there and you can't work there unless you have a special type of visa. And for that, you need a designation. Doctors can, teachers can do it, and CPAs can do it. So really incredible, attractive piece about the designation. We have almost 13,000 CPAs around the world right now, working in different capacities. The average salary for CPAs working internationally, as the last census states, is $284,000. So we move on to talking about some of the salaries you would get here more domestically, not necessarily right when you graduate, but it is not uncommon a couple of years after your designation to find yourself in triple figures, depending on where you are at. But I always hesitate to talk about this slide for a couple of reasons. One is that we all know money is important. Certainly ask people that are struggling and don't have the support that they need. Money is really vital. However, when you look at an article of what happened to lottery winners a year after they won the lottery, you're going to see that money isn't really the source of all happiness. And for the vast majority of people, and some of you may be experiencing this now, when you get up to go to work every day, most people aren't happy. They don't like their jobs. They don't find it meaningful. They don't find it inspiring. They don't see that themselves growing and challenged. And what's so interesting to me about the CPA designation, and when I talk to students, is not to say do it for the money, but yes, you will have solid income, but moreover is that CPAs have choice. Every single organization that you can think of, needs people that understand and speak the language of business, that can look behind the financials and say what's really happening in our company, how do we grow, how do we thrive, how do we compete in this market. And that's why CPAs are in every possible industry you can think of. This means when you have choice, when you have demand, you have a choice to have a meaningful and happy career. So I talk to CPAs step in the journey, and what happens is as they write their exam and they get their designation, their LinkedIn starts exploding with recruiters. The phone starts calling off the hook saying, how would you like to come to this opportunity? How would you like to have this meeting? So when you have that element of choice, this is why CPAs are generally so happy. We actually had a conference 3 weeks ago. One of our keynotes is a CPA who's pursuing a master's in comedy at Second City. So she wanted to follow her dream. She worked for a firm, worked for a corporation, said, you know what, I can fall back on my designation anytime. The phone literally rings every single day with another offer. So instead, I'm going to follow my dream and pursue comedy. I talked to CPAs who said, me and my dad have opened up our own business. When you go into a bank wanting a bank loan for your own business, and you show, hey, I have a CPA designation, I speak numbers, I speak business, you tend to be much more successful with those types of investments. So really, that's really the big selling point for me. Yeah, money is important, a good thing, but having a career where you can work in every single organization, anywhere in the world, always in demand, that's really incredible. That's the big return on investment that I hope you take away from this presentation. Let me show you a few CPAs. Oops. So first here we have Tomas Ramita. So he's on the left. Tomas he started off at a Big Four firm, and I should mention, there's a lot of misperception out there that if I'm going to be a CPA, I have to work in public practice. I have to work for one of these big firms or these medium, Grant Thornton, BDO type firms. That's really not the case. Certainly CPAs will go in that direction, and those are good career options for people. But it may surprise you to know that only 18% of CPAs work in public practice. So where is everybody else? Just like I mentioned, every single organization and company. So you really don't have to be focused on a firm if you're thinking about being a CPA. All right, back to Tomas. He was on a business trip to Japan. He was getting some suits made and realized, wait a minute, we don't have a mid-tier price men's custom clothier here in Ontario. I think we could start something. He was really passionate about fashion. He went on to Dragon's Den, which you may know is a show on CBC, pitch your ideas and get, and so he got his investment, started Made Clothing. Within his first year, he had over $1 million in sales. He dresses tennis star Milos Raonic, Raptors Amir Johnson, and even Drake. So I'm definitely not saying being a CPA is your pathway to being Drake's buddy. However, Drake does have a friend who is a CPA, and if you want to make those connections, I wouldn't judge you for it. So Joe Resnick, I like Joe. I've actually met him. He's a really interesting guy. He's a certified NHL players agent. Just like in Jerry Maguire, he saw an opportunity. He specializes in tax, and I'm about to show you in a few minutes that CPAs can really choose which area they want to specialize in. Nobody is doing everything, so don't worry if you don't like tax or you don't like assurance, you don't have to do those things. But Joe was a big tax guy, and he realized, wait a minute, athletes that sign contracts with sports teams in Canada are under different tax regulations than athletes that sports teams in the US. And this is an opportunity for someone that's a pro at business language, business negotiations, and to really leverage himself in the market. And that's exactly what he's done. So his athletes include NHL star Rick Nash, Patrice Bergeron, and a couple others that maybe some NHL fans would know. What's the point of all this? Why am I telling this story? Because maybe, like me a year ago, you have some notions of what kind of things CPAs do, and hopefully you're starting to see, wow, they can really do all kinds of different stuff. Lieutenant Colonel Ellie Heavens, her bottom line is to serve in the Canadian military and do good in the world. She opened up the first all-girls private school in Afghanistan. Right now she serves in the financial sector of the military, making sure that our UN peacekeeping obligations are met, given that we don't spend a lot of money in Canada here on our military. Victoria Harmanson, she's someone that transitioned from a firm into the health services. Again, someone that just thought, I want to do something good in the world, and I want to do something good every day and really feel like I'm helping people. So she's the controller at kids, and the doctors there act quite annoying because she's not in her office. She's out there talking to patients on the ground, finding out about wait times. How's your benefits and benefits plan kicking in? Are there ways we can make this more efficient? Are there ways we can make this more transparent? Can we standardize processes? Obviously, Sick Kids gets a lot of donations from their fundraising efforts, and that money has to be spent the right way and in a very transparent manner. And that's what Victoria is doing all about. Adrian Joseph. So he's the Chief Financial Officer for Steam Whistle Brewery, and he actually is what we call an internationally educated professional. He came from Sri Lanka, and he had his designation from them. And so if there are anyone here on the call today that does have a certification or a designation from their home country and are looking to transition that into CPA, then let's definitely book a conversation to talk about what that process looks like. It's pretty easy. You just need to take the course on business law and taxation, and then you'll be have your certification trans. But Adrian did that. As a CPA, he's really passionate about the environment and sustainability. And those of you who know Steam Whistle, they have a trademark green bottle that they use. Now that green bottle is more expensive than the brown bottle that most beers are produced in. And Adrian went to his board with a business plan and said, look, I've crunched the numbers. I've got something to propose to you. I think we can use this bottle and market ourselves, yes, as a more corporate, socially responsible organization, but more than that, we can actually use this as a trademark marketing tool that people will see that bottle and recognize us and then buy more of our product. And that's exactly what's happened. So again, he was able to take those, that technical and financial understanding, but moreover, that ability to influence as a professional, as a leader who spoke the language of business in his boardroom to say, we need to move our organization in this direction. Ryan Corvette started at PwC, he's moved his way up. Again, that's a good career option for a lot of people. The last I'll mention is Julie Nugent. So she's a senior manager of finance at Microsoft. And Julie did something quite amazing. Even before she was 30, she led an initiative that took the world's largest provider of software, a total reduction in operating costs by 19%. So that's one person, a company as large and global as Microsoft, having an overall reduction in operating costs of 19%. That is huge. You can imagine the trajectory her career is on. How did she do that? She spoke the language of business. She understood the numbers, and she was incredible value to that organization. Okay, how do I become a CPA? This is where the rubber hits the road. So, in order to become a CPA, you need to, the second box from the right, you need to do our professional education program, which I'll describe in a minute. You need to do a big common final exam, the CFE, and our practical experience. But before we get to that point, we need to help you meet the prerequisite requirements. So we will take a degree in any subject from any country as your degree, regardless of how old that degree is. What we do need you to do is this big blue box. We need you to make up our 14 prerequisite areas. If you are coming from another country and within the last 7 years you have taken courses that are equivalent to some of these, then you might be able to exemptions. That does not include business law and taxation, which have a Canadian context. But there's a way of doing this we can talk about after you submit your transcripts and then find out. So if you do have any kind of courses that match this from another country or from another institution here in Canada, then before you start registering for your courses with McMaster Continuing Studies, let's find out exactly which courses you need to take so you're not retaking anything you would get credit for. So that magical blue box, once you have those courses completed and you have your degree, then you're ready for entry into CPA PEP. If you're taking continuing education studies here, but it's not leading to a degree and you only have a diploma or something else, that won't allow you entry. You do need to get a degree. There is one exception for that, and that is if you have been working for more than 10 years in any industry, then you may get what's called the mature student exemption. So if you don't have a degree, but you've been working full-time for over 10 years, you may qualify for mature student exemption, and then you can just use that as a substitute for your degree. And we can meet afterwards to talk about that. All right, so keep in mind that blue box and those prerequisite areas. So what I should say, what Anna's going to do at the end of the call is she's going to give you the exact course codes for each of these, so you know which ones to register for. And again, if you don't remember or don't have this captured, that's fine. Just give Anne and her team a call and let them know that you're pursuing your CPA, and we'll walk you through all of that. Okay, so you don't need to memorize it here, but just give you an understanding. We'll give you those course codes at the end of the presentation. All the courses are broken into two categories. So the category on the right, we would call our non-core courses, and all you need to get is 50%. Everything on the left are our core. These are ones that are really pivotal to your understanding of the profession. These you need an average of 60 in each, with an overall average in that box on the left of 65. So not a crazy and intense requirement academically to meet those standards, but just to give you an idea that some are weighted differently. Should you not meet the requirements in one of those courses, you can retake the course and we'll take the higher mark. Okay, so once you've met the academic prerequisites, be it from your own country or from continuing studies, you are ready to start our professional education program. This essentially is what turns you from an ordinary law-abiding citizen into a certified professional accountant superhero. The program is designed that you are working full-time. So I often say that if this map was to scale, the practical experience green arrows at the bottom would take up the majority of the page. The profession wants you to be learning on the job. Those of you who are in the workforce now will know that all the theory and things you learn in school are very, very importantly a very key foundation. However, once you're on the job and doing the stuff, that's when the connections start being made. That's when you really understand, I see how that matters. I see how this is related to that. It tends to be more interesting. So the profession is designed it this way, that you are learning on the job, working full-time for 30 months. And then in the evenings, you're going to be studying part-time. So in the Core 1, Core 2, this is where you have to show that you're a little bit good at everything. If you've mapped out any careers of any CPAs on LinkedIn, and I encourage you to do so to really, illustrate the point that I made earlier about the diversity in their careers, you never know where your career is going to take you. And, it's important that you have a very high level understanding of all local areas. But as you take these courses, no doubt you're going to say there's one or two areas that you really don't like. Not every CPA likes everything. Not every CPA is good at everything. So when you get to the electives, that's where you get to dive into two of these areas that you want to be very, very good at. So if you're currently working for an organization that's going to allow you to do the professional education at their work, maybe find out from them. What do you want me to specialize in? If you work for Coca-Cola, they do a lot of assurance work. Maybe I need to focus on assurance here. Then we get to the capstones. And I should mention all of the learning is online. All the materials are online for this. The capstone will be a time where you're given an actual business case. And you'll be given 6 people in your area that you'll have to meet with on weekends to solve this case and present it. So again, part of the CPA designation, when you think about a CFO being a CPA, yes, they have to have that technical understanding, but you have to demonstrate the ability to communicate, to work and collaborate as a team, to have self-management, to have that professional ethical behavior. This is where we really cultivate that. This is where we really get to measure whether or not you've accomplished that standard, so that when people see those letters, CPA, behind your name on your resume or on your LinkedIn, they know, it comes with this full skill set. And then the capstone 2 is a bit of a preparation and writing development for the common final, and that CFE exam happens every September. A very, very important point to make is that 30-month clock of work experience starts when you register for Core 1, so when you become our student. However, we will give you up to 12 months of prior working experience as long as it is within the accounting or finance realms and meets certain criteria. And you can find that information online, or if you're uncertain, this is the perfect thing to book a meeting with me about, so I can show you what are the criteria, did you hit that criteria or not. That experience can be anywhere, any corporation, regardless of whether they're working for CPA or not, again, as long as you do accounting or finance work, but it has to be up until, we'll only grant it to you 5.5 years back from starting Core 1. So if you're currently working now in accounting or finance, and you're going to be studying part-time continuing studies here for the next 2 years, well, great. Over the next years, you can build that experience so that when you're ready to start PEP with us 2 years from now, what you've been doing between now and then will count, up to 12 months worth. So a good chance for you to sit down to your boss and say, look, I'm pursuing a CPA designation. I've looked at the requirements. I've got some of these, but I'm missing a few others. Can we put a plan in place over the next year? I can meet some of these criteria. I'd love to be able to use that experience toward my designation. Again, we can talk about that anytime afterwards. I love to meet with students and to give advisement, so please don't ever hesitate. Really quickly on the exam, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I just want to mention that the exam is mirrored to the program. So wherein you have to be a little bit good at everything in Core 1, you'll show a high-level understanding in breadth. Where you show that you were in depth in elective 2, that's where you're going to show depth there as well. And the other piece is that there's a case that you'll be doing the exam that's linked to capstone 1. So they'll almost be the exact same case with just a few changes in new financial statements come out, or there's been something changed to the market, something along those lines. We don't want you spending this exam. We're not testing your case writing or reading abilities. We want to just give you the details and help you solve that. So, again, we don't want to spend too much time worrying about the exam. We're going to have all kinds of systems in place. And as I mentioned, there's this amazing culture of volunteerism and support. So by the time you get to the exam, you should be fine because you passed all the modules. But should you fail the exam, you have 3 chances to write it. If you fail the first time, all kinds of support mechanisms kick in. We're going to have people sit down with you, find out where the learning gaps are, put a learning plan in place. We want you to succeed in this program. Of the 3 chances to write, we have a success rate of 95%. So as I mentioned, we're going to give you all the support systems. You've invested your time in this process. We want you to succeed. All right, so I always make a joke in my presentations that if you were to carve open a CPA and pull out their heart, this is what you would see. This truly is what a CPA is in essence. The white circle on the left is the A, the accounting, the technical stuff. I understand the technical. I've got my management. I've got my finance. I've got my audit insurance. I know the numbers. I know what they mean. I know how to explain and analyze them. But most importantly, as well, is our enabling competencies. This is what makes you a professional. This is what makes you have the ability to stand up in front of a boardroom and say, look, here's what these numbers mean. Here's what we need to do. Here are hard decisions that need to make. This is the change that we need to drive in our organization. So all of that stuff is super, super important. And that's exactly what they're looking for. I have the privilege of being, networking and being on panel discussions and conferences with high-level professionals in all industries. And I'm always asking, what are you looking for in a candidate? Because getting into our CPA program is pretty easy. Did you do the marks and do you have the courses? So academically, you're there. But finding work will always be up to you. And I ask these employers, what are you looking for? What is it that makes a candidate stand out? And they always sort of say the same stuff. The theme is, well, the technical they need, but everyone's going to have that. What we're looking for are soft skills. We're looking for people that are going to be a good fit in our organization, on our team, and in our culture. Someone who can lead and be led. Someone that can work with people in different departments and categories. Someone that can think critically and problem solve on their own. This is all part of that CPA training that you're going to get. But at the same time, it's important to start thinking now that you can build those soft skills. So even if you're working full time, like maybe you should be joining Toastmasters and finding, some public speaking practice. You should be taking some online courses about, leveraging LinkedIn or boosting your personal brand or taking some communication style stuff. So really focusing on those, and those soft skills are going to help you regardless of whatever industry you're in. In your practical experience, you're going to have a couple of criteria that you're going to meet. So you'll show your core in financial reporting or management accounting, and then that depth area, again, what you chose to specialize in. So if you're someone that doesn't like tax, that's fine. You didn't go into tax in your elective, and you don't have to work on tax in your practical experience. Sometime you'll have to have a very surface level understanding of each area, but then most importantly, you're going to show progression. So whereas at the beginning of your first 10 months or so, you're doing routine journal entries, verify mathematical accuracy of financial statements, use accounting system to put in basic log entries. Then over time you're going to start doing a bit more, like maybe a bit more explaining, a bit more reconciliations, a bit more identifying problems and finding what are the sources and solutions to those problems. Then as you get towards the end of it, then you're starting to do in your last 10-month real CPA like stuff, where you're really diving deep into the analytics, into the data, making recommendations, putting strategies together, making CPA level decisions. That's the progression that you're going to show over time. Now, there are 2 routes for you to do your practical experience. The first is your pre-approved route, and the second is your experience verification route. The main difference between these 2 is just who is doing the reporting on you meeting those requirements. The pre-approved route are companies that hire so many CPAs each year that CPAs actually come in and audited their full program, and now they can report for you. So you'll go in there, and from day 1 to the last day at 30 months, everything will be prescribed. There are over 800 companies in Ontario that are the pre-approved route, and in some cases they will pay for you to do your CPA. They'll pay for you to do your CPA designation. The experience verification allows you to have a bit more flexibility in terms of what industries you want to work in. So this is where you would, for example, I had a student I was talking to last week who is really passionate about renewable energy. So she's working for a company that's building those wind turbines. She doesn't even have a CPA in her office, but is she doing CPA-like work? Is she doing core depth, breadth and progression? Absolutely. So she just does her own reporting once a quarter. It's not difficult to do, and your supervisor signs off on that. So the real main difference between the two is just who does the reporting, and with experience verification, you get a chance to work with companies you have existing relationships with. Again, it could be an ice cream shop. It doesn't matter as long as you're doing accounting or finance type work. For the majority of people that are in the workforce right now, you'll probably go the EVR route. Over half of CPAs do the EVR route, so it is very, very much a well-trodden pathway. It's very well laid out, and we can talk about what that looks like and find information on the website as well. The last thing I'll mention about the two differences is mentors. So we have tons of mentors that want to give back, and their job as a mentor is not to sign off on your technical stuff. Your supervisor at work will say you've met this technical stuff in financial reporting or whatever. But the mentor is going to meet with you throughout your journey to see, are you really developing those enabling competencies? So you'll meet with your mentor to say, look, here's how I demonstrated professional ethical behavior this month. And here's an example of that. Does that check in with you? The mentor is going to say, show me some examples of collaboration and self-management. Really, really an important part. And it's essentially one member saying to a future member, to have you as one of us in our lead organization, we want to make sure you have those professional characteristics. If you're worried about finding a mentor, we literally have a drop-down menu of 6,500 mentors waiting to be matched. So that is not a problem at all, but you can choose whoever you like as your mentor. If you're in a pre-approved, then there'll be someone assigned to you. All right, so while you're a student with us, you can count on career coaching, academic coaching, as I mentioned, access to our jobs board, career development workshops, webinars, all kinds of resources to help you transition into the profession, getting the resources that you need. And in terms of next steps, I'll say a few things. So when you're ready to enter into, when you are enrolled in your final semester, you don't have to have finished your final semester courses to get conditional enrollment with us. So when you're in your very final semester, as soon as you're enrolled with continuing education, then you can submit your transcript to CPA. The CPA is going to look at transcripts and say, okay, where are those 14 prerequisites? Oh, we see we've got 10 of them covered already. Great, you met the marks. 4 of them are missing, but I see on your transcript you're currently enrolled. We will assume you will pass. We'll give you conditional enrollment. That way there's no time lag between, you may finish continuing education in April and you want to start right ahead in May. The other takeaway is that for enrollment into CPA courses, that process needs to start about 5 months ahead of time. So if you were to start in May, your transcript needs to be in early January for an enrollment period that happens in February. So that's why it's important to think about conditional enrollment during your final year. And the last thing I would say is to keep in touch with CPA. So I'm going to send you, post that link for you as well. We have a number of activities where we want to help you engage with professionals. So you can imagine CPA is probably, the most business organization that I can think of in Ontario. We have CPAs everywhere. And so we have employers who are eager to meet new CPAs or future CPAs. So, there are 3 inevitabilities in life: death, taxes, and networking. So networking is not about you going and pitching yourself and saying, I need a job. It's about going and getting information, treating the other person like the center of attention and asking questions. So yes, it's nice to say I want to talk about Sean and pitch Sean, but the idea of networking, for those not familiar, is to go into a room and talk to someone who works at RBC and say, hey, you work at RBC, like, tell me about your role, tell me what you do, what do you find interesting about that? Oh, that's really fascinating. Can you walk me through, what does a typical day look like for you? What is one of your proudest accomplishments? What do you find really challenging about that? How did you know you wanted to get into this industry? How does your CPA help tie into that? I'm someone that's pursuing my CPA, and I'm not sure if I want to be in accounting or finance. What advice would you have for someone, in my position? What does a good candidate look like to you? All of these are just me asking questions to the other person, and believe me, in networking events, people are happy to talk to that. Any old person like myself loves giving advice, loves talking about themselves. So as long as you approach networking with, asking the other person questions and trying to get information, you're really going to walk away from that with a valuable experience. But it does take practice. So come out to our networking events. The only way that we can share these with you is if you register with CPA and allow us to email you. So I'll send you the link as well. So this is a particular event that's coming up on March 28th in Toronto. So a lot you get to hear, particularly anyone here that is an international, who's a recent Canadian or new Canadian. You're going to see CPAs there for you who've done your journey, who've gone down your path, who can tell you, this is what I did, this is what it was like for me. This is the kind of stuff that you need to keep in mind when you're looking for jobs. So come out to these events. You're really going to gain a lot from the experience. So this is the code, www.cpaontario.ca/PSI events. You got to enter this code in here. Take a screenshot now from this, or write this down with your pen, because in the next 10 seconds I'm going to transfer it over to Anne, and then following that we'll open it up to questions. You can type your questions in, but you're always free to email me and contact me anytime. I'd love to hear from you and help you. This is my contact information as well with the link there. So thank you so much for your time. Good luck on your studies, and we'll hope to see you in the profession soon.
Thanks very much, Sean. And just to reiterate, if you did not have an opportunity to jot down that website and the actual code, McMaster University Continuing Ed will be sending out a follow-up email after today's session, and we will make sure to include that information in there so that you have that directly. I can't stress enough with regard to the CPA and student membership, the networking opportunities that being a student member affords you is unmeasurable. It's really incredible. And I've worked with a number of students over the years and a number of professional associations, and it's critical to what you're going to be doing in terms of training the profession. So I encourage everyone who's attending today to reach out to the CPA if your plan, or even if you're just thinking of becoming a CPA, and stay in touch with them, because they will be the cornerstone of where you're heading. Today's session is about the Chartered Professional Accountants. It's not about McMaster University. Throughout the year, we invite professional representatives to address our prospective student body and existing student body. Today is one such example. I will, however, just review quickly a few of the points that Sean picked up on. And to at the end of the session, we are going to open this up to questions. As Sean mentioned, our courses under our accounting diploma and our certificate in advanced accounting are recognized by the CPA as meeting the entrance requirements to CPA PEP. This screen, although it's kind of tight on the page here, captures the various courses that we offer, and students can go to our website and click on the accounting program area, and you'll actually be able to pull up this actual equivalency chart. All of our courses, and this is what we find students find of interest with regard to taking one or two courses through continuing ed at McMaster. I'm going to skip by this chart because, again, today is we wanted to really hone in on the CPA designation. Quickly to let you know, if you're not per se, if you feel you're not heading down the road to a designation, the CPA offers an advanced certificate in accounting and finance, which the actual educational component is now looked after at the post-secondary institution. McMaster Centre for Continuing Education currently offers the entry and technical level courses under our programming, and we are working on the applied courses, which should be enrolled out in fall 2018. And again, information on ACAF is available on our website. Just quickly in terms of formats, McMaster University's Continuing Ed, we're an open enrollment program through our accounting area, and students can take courses, be it one course, be it two courses, on a full-time, or pardon me, a part-time basis. Our semesters are fall, winter, spring, and summer. We will be beginning our next session in May, the first week of May. And classes run either a weekday, a weeknight, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. So there's quite a bit of flexibility. Keep our class sizes small because we feel it's vital to your success to ensure that you have enough one-to-one time with an instructor. So we do keep our class sizes small, and our instructors are practitioners. So you will see the CPAs in the classroom. They not only cover off the theory, but equally, if not more important, they have the practical applied experiential background. And that's vital to those of you who are pursuing a career in accounting. We also offer, in addition to our part-time studies, we actually offer our diploma in accounting on a full-time equivalency, or what we refer to as a fast track. And students can start the program in September, and they can accelerate through the curriculum. Classes are held Mondays and Thursdays, and classes will run 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, small class sizes. Typically, students will go through as a cohort in our fast track equivalency format, and students can complete the curriculum, the programming, in about a 10-month time frame. In addition to in-person, we offer all courses in an online self-study format. Students have up to 5 months to complete coursework. There are instructional videos. There are online chat discussions and discussion board topics with the facilitator. You hand in assignments throughout the term and sit a final examination, which at this point is a face-to-face proctored exam. We have students who are taking online self-study who live out of country. And what happens is you essentially make arrangements with a local university or college, and then we correspond with them and make sure that they have the exam material for you to sit. So if you are completing any of our courses under accounting in an online study format, you do not need to come here to sit the final exam. For our in-person, part-time, and full-time classes, we have our location here in Hamilton at 1 James. It's one of McMaster University's downtown campuses. In addition to our Hamilton location, we have been offering courses now, I think we're heading into our 3rd year, in Mississauga. And we're currently offering courses at the Peel Adult Education Centre. And anyone interested who lives out of town and is looking to take courses but are unable to travel to Hamilton, you might consider our Mississauga location. And just before we end today's session, just some important links and just an update in terms of upcoming sessions. We will be offering, again, today's session really, we want to focus on CPA. I will be conducting an upcoming accounting information session on March 21st at 12 noon Eastern Standard. Again, that's an online session. Everything and anything you might want to know about our programming, the Diploma in Accounting and the Certificate in Advanced Accounting, I will make available at that session. If you are interested in that, you can go to our website and register for that.